It's pretty easy to find the 50 highest points in each state. What's not easy and what I can't find anywhere is what are the 50 highest points in each state that you can actually hike to. So no mountaineering, no scrambling, nothing dangerous, something like a class 1 hike, a trail like Mount Whitney that might be challenging, but doesn't require any kind of scrambling, doesn't require you do any route finding, anything like that. My criteria basically is what would I recommend to other people on my website to do this hike if they would like to do the same thing. So I'm going to try to find the highest points where you can hike to. Also worth noting, I did a live stream a few days ago and threw a question out there. Should this be to a summit, or what if it's just like a hike, a loop hike that might be a high altitude that doesn't actually, go to a summit? Everyone overwhelmingly agreed that it should be to a summit. Ideally, it's a named summit in the state. So that's what we're going for. Also needs to be on public land. If it's private land, it should just be open all the time, but ideally on public land, and no drive up. So nothing where you can just drive to a parking lot, touch a marker and then be done. There has to be at least some walking. Some of these I'll show you in a second are very short, less than a mile. I'll take that, because there's slim pickings when you get down to the lower peaks. But let me walk you through some of the alternate choices that I made. And what I'm asking you to do is, if you are local and you know more than I do, because a lot of these I haven't done already. This is part of my 50 high point state quest jam that I'm doing on my YouTube channel. But if you know a point that's higher, or if you know what I'm recommending is maybe not the safest, please let me know and just put that in the comments. I will revise this list, and I'll put the spreadsheet, a link to this underneath the video, so that you can go to Google Sheets and just copy it for yourself if you want to keep a checklist or modify it or whatever. Again, this is unofficial. This is just my list, but the idea is to get the 50 highest points that you can hike to. So let's dive in. The hikes fit into two buckets. One is ones where you can hike up and there's already a trail to the top. It's pretty straightforward. And for those, I've put a link in here already, and you can just click on that link and go to it. And either all trails are on my website if I have it. The ones that are tougher are the ones where it's something like Denali, where it is not hikeable. It might be in all trails, but we're not going to use all trails to do a mountaineering experience. And what I'm going to do in that case is I'm going to go to all trails here, and I'm going to go to explore, and we'll do Alaska. And one of the filters, which is relatively new, we'll do activity hiking, relatively new, is this one where it has highest point with elevation. So if I do this, here it's giving me Denali, right? So I don't want Denali. Let's get Canada out of there and just have Russia. I don't think it's going to give me anything in Russia. So then what I'm going to do is just notch this down until I find some trails that are actually hikeable. 4 trails, okay. Let's see what this one is. Hole in the Goat Loop. So I've already looked at this one, and I can tell you that this doesn't go to any high point here. What is this? This is not a named high point. This is just a point on the thing. But you can see the elevation overall, 8,000 feet. So this is technically, according to this, let's see what the other one is. That is one of the higher ones, but it is not to a named summit. But let's do this one, Bold Peak Valley. What does this go up to? This goes up to 7,600 feet. See, this looks like a summit. So I think we can take this one. Unfortunately, they don't have the USGS summit map on here anymore. I don't know why they got rid of that. But what we can do is we can look in CalTopo and cross-reference it. But this, even though this is not a named summit, I'd say this is probably a summit that you can hike to. Now, the other criteria that I'm going to do is I'm going to look through the comments and see what people say, because even though this goes to the high point here, it could involve scrambling or whatever. So let me see. Scree was rough, pretty tough at parts, had to turn back. This is not a trail, it's a route. Okay, so this one is disqualified. So let's go back. So this is my methodology, just going through all of these rote and figuring out what's what. So if I go through and then we notch this filter down a little bit. Okay, got some more. Got some more. Gunsight Mountain, that sounds good. Gunsight Mountain, named peak, 6,400 feet. Let's see if this is actually a trail. Not much of a trail. It's tundra. Easy navigation. So even though this is not necessarily hard, I wouldn't say this is a trail, right? This is, if I look here, there's no trail, right? It's just going cross country here. Okay, so that one's out. Pioneer Peak, that sounds good. Pioneer Peak, South Pioneer Peak. I think we might have got it here. Pioneer Peak. Trail's in great condition. Trail is very narrow. Okay. So let's look at some of these pictures here and get an idea of whether this is a trail or not. So that looks really nice. That looks nice. Okay, there's a trail. So what I'm going to do when I need more information is we're going to go to YouTube and see if we can see a video on it. All right, so this is a trail. There's a trail here. Okay, so this is the tough one, right? I'd say this is a trail. That's class 2 maybe. There's trail. That's trail. I think this looks doable. Oh, that's the true summit. Oh, that looks tough. See, here we go.
Toward the saddle between the summits, but it was just super loose and the peak looked horrible, so.
Okay, so he's...
Take the win and just enjoy.
All right, so he's saying that the, this is good. He's saying that the actual peak was, this part was sketchy, but this part was okay. So I think it might be South Pioneer Peak. This might be the winner in Alaska. So I'm going to list this one. But again, if you have any local information or you have any other options, please put them in the comments. I will look into them and update this as I go. And what I'll do is I'm doing a video for every one of these peaks on my channel. And if I update the list along the way, I will put that update in the video that I do for the whatever peak I'm on and give you an update on the overall list and my progress and any changes there might be. So now let me try another one because I've already done this. This is a little bit of a preview and I got stuck. The lower ones are hard. The lower ones are hard. So let's go to Ohio. So for Ohio, Campbell Hill is the highest point, but Campbell Hill, you'll see that this is across the street from a Love's gas station and Hardee's fast food. So this is not a hike, also on private lands, but this is just a little thing in somebody's yard here. So this is not going to work. So what I did was I looked at the Peak Bagger sites, Peak Bagger. So here are all the points lower in Ohio, and you could see I've already kind of clicked on a lot of these links. A lot of these, okay, some of them are just maps, but I went through and I cross-checked them on CalTopo. And a lot of them are just on private land. So for this one, for example, there it is, not an obvious trail if I go to Map Builder Topo, but it is a named point. And we look at parcel data, you can see this is on somebody's private land. So that's a no-go. And a lot of them in Ohio, especially, were on just in people's yards, basically. So all of these points that I did on Peak Bagger, going through all of these, I've spent hours on this already, by the way. So for some of the lower ones that I don't have in there, what I'm going to do is reach out to the Parks Department in Ohio, and I'm going to ask for their help. But for states that don't have an obvious named high point or summit, I'm going to find the highest point with a trail that you can hike to in one of the parks, whether that be a state park, local park, or a national forest. I'm going to try to figure it out that way so that it's a hike and we can actually do it. So that's what I have. These are my 50 high points that I'm going with. If you have any inputs, please leave me a comment and I will research it and figure it out. And if I do any updates to this list, I will update you in my vlog series where I'm doing all of these different 50 high points. I will let you know any updates to the list in those series. So subscribe if you don't already. And yeah, guys, thanks for supporting me and thanks for helping out on this. Thanks for everyone who joined the live stream the other day. And yeah, this will be a fun one. Looking forward to doing some of these hikes already. And yeah, stay tuned. All right, guys, we'll see you out there.